Welcome, everybody. I am your
Uh,
host, Scott Dozier. This is my co host, Aaron Moon, per the usual. Today, we are going to talk about coaching and some of the things that we've experienced as life coaches, as coaches of different sports. We both competed as we were growing up, and so we had different examples of coaches and stuff like that, and just kind of get into that subject matter as it pertains to the landscape today. So,
you,
yeah, let's dive right in.
you know, I got into coaching because I had an injury and I wanted to heal that stuff. And it took a coach, a man who is a therapist and, working with men specifically to help me put these pieces together that I had learned, these skills that I learned. He helped me put them together in a framework of regular practice. It created a massive healing result in my body. And I know that Michael Jordan had 7 different types of coaches or something like this. Elite coaches, they have their team coaches and then other coaches on the side to help them with their mental game or different skills that have knock-on effects to their profession, whether you're an athlete or an entrepreneur, right, or a C-level leader in a business. The coaching landscape has changed a lot, especially in the last 7 years because of the influx of people being online and wanting to make money online. And so using their life skills that they've developed in a certain area in an attempt to help people, and earn a living. So there's these life coaches happening. And there's Tony Robbins, who's like the goat who created the whole industry of life coaching. So there's a lot going on in the world of coaching. Plus, then there's people who don't want to be told what to do, so they don't fucking get coached.
Yeah, and then there's people that don't need a coach, and I've seen another group of people that don't think the coaches should charge, which I find to be very interesting. The whole idea of a coach is that they're able to see your blind spots, right? Like you can, if you have a good work ethic and you're talented in anything, you can go to a certain extent, right? But your coach or your mentor is there to help pull out of you what you may not have been able to pull out yourself, right? They are there to help you to push through that barrier and to achieve greater things. The reason why, like you mentioned, Michael Jordan, the reason why Michael Jordan had different coaches because he knew that to be the best version of himself, he needed someone's help to push through so he could become the best version of himself, right? And so, no matter what it is that you're doing, if you have a coach or mentor, listen to them. And if you don't, and you're really wanting to grow, I would encourage you to find one.
The best of the best have at least one coach, right?
Absolutely.
And I definitely, since I'm in this space somewhat reluctantly still, I have my own coaches and teams of people I work with and accountability partners. And it's all for me about perspective. And if you ever watch Ted Lasso, it's all about helping these players become the best version of themselves on and off the field. And if you want to grow, then you got to take on other perspectives, hopefully with people who are either older or more skilled than you in the area you want to do. It's super basic, but still, the majority of people, the majority of men will not make the deposit, will not take on a coach, will not get help with an issue um, until something's very, very, very hard. Whether their spouse is like, "I'm gonna fucking leave you, dude, if you don't step up your game and grow beyond." Because I'm growing over here. I'm in my women's circle, or going to these seminars. I'm learning about myself and my traumas and my habits and the patterns and mindsets that are keeping me from having and doing and being the person I want to do and the life I want to live. Guys will be like, it takes so much of that until something gets really fucking hard, or they go through a divorce or a death, or it's be hard for a lot of guys. And, being a coach for men, like I know this intimately, like it's guys are often a hard sell, but it's the ones who are not, who are already ready that are just going to say yes and know what's good for them. But I'm curious, like how does a coach, what were your first experiences as a coach, and what do you think of when you think of the word coach? You have a specific, you're coaching baseball players at a very high level. But then when we're also talking about life coaching, men's coaching, or coaching in general. What was your first experience of a coaching, and how did you know you were going to be doing this? Did it come to you, or um, what? Why would you get a coach as a coach, or why would you recommend this to people who maybe have tried therapy
Hmm.
and might want a different perspective if they've been in therapy for 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10 years around like same issues? Uh, Curious, all of this. Why did you become a coach? What were your first experiences as a coach like, and why the hell are you recommending someone to get one?
Yeah, so I, being a student of the game of baseball, and having that natural inclination to want to win, I was just naturally drawn towards. I'm also I'm a giver, so I like to help people. I love to add value. I love to be in spaces where I feel like I'm adding value. I I can remember saying when I was in high school that I'll likely be a better coach than I ever was a player.
Oh,
And
you knew that back in the day.
I did.
You
Yeah, I can remember myself saying that, because I had this ability to be able to help people. And I think, again, I think that stems from, like I said, a couple different things. One, of being that I'm a giver and I want to see people succeed and I love to add value to them. And two, I knew that helping my teammates would help the team to win. And at the end of the day, I really wanted to win. I am one of the most competitive people that I've ever met, that I've ever been around. I've learned to temper that, and understand when that's important and when it's not. Which my dad helped you with. Shout out, pops. Um, but I I always listened to my coaches when I was younger, and that's probably the part of it is the way that I was raised, right? I've always had this inclination of self improvement, of trying to be better. I don't know whether that came from me always getting in trouble as a kid and understanding that I needed to course correct and that I didn't necessarily have the tools to do that. I needed someone's help, or if it was from that competitive nature of, I understand that you have more knowledge than I do as a coach, and that I know that you can help me to get better at this game. That's your job. That's what you're there for. Right. So for me, as I became an adult, looking for help or mentorship from somebody was, is kind of a no-brainer. Right.
you get
And
to give back too. Like it's like everyone wants to win. I don't know about everyone, but a lot of us guys, like we want to win.
some
We
people
want
just want to play the game, bro. Not everybody wants to win. And that's weird to me,
to.
but there is that.
That was me as a kid. I just wanted to play the game. I wanted to win also, right? But first and foremost, I just love to play and like get on the football field, collide with the other guys. Oh, I love that. Like boom, like the collisions is super fun and invigorating. And then contacting the ball, fuck yeah, it feels so good. Um,
I
and
have
if I'm
quick story. I had a
want to,
friend who I played baseball with in high school. He's got four boys, and they're all great athletes. But his oldest son is not. He's just a really sweet kid, right? And so he's playing this game with his next oldest son. And shout out Scott Bingham. What's up, Bing? That's the homie. And he's watching him play, and he sees that Lucas, his oldest son, could make a move. I don't remember what game they're playing, like some kind of board game or something, could have made a move and could have won the game. And he didn't. He made a different move, right? And Nolan, his next son, 2 moves later, made the move and he won the game. And Scott goes, "Hey, Lucas, why didn't you? You could have won a couple moves ago. Like, why didn't you make that move?" He's like, "Well, then the game would have been over." So he just wanted to keep playing the game, whereas Nolan is, and that's how they are in their personality as well. Like Nolan is, he's a freaking pit bull, dude. Like, I'm getting to that W, and Lucas is a little more chill. I'm like, I'm just having fun. I'm out here playing the game. And so also understanding where people are as a coach is one of the biggest things that you can do. You need to understand where they are. You need to meet them where you're at. That's your job, to be able to do that in athletics, in personal coaching, in all of that stuff. So I just wanted to share that because it was
Well,
similar to kind of like what you were talking about when you were younger. But go ahead.
that's great, man. Well, I also wanted to, so if I'm playing a game with my friends and it's off of the field, that would be my attitude. Sometimes I would not close out the game because I just wanted to play and like see what people would do. If it's a video game or a board game or something like this. Most of the time, though, if it was my brother, not my friends, or if it was on the field, I just was like something switched and I would become ruthless. I was just having fun, but also like I wanted to fucking win and I would do mostly whatever it takes. I also, I didn't want to train and put in the effort in the process of getting to a place that would allow me to sufficiently win all the time. That's what I would resist most. And in terms of, you know, coaching, I think there's this nebulous, like, what am I going to get out of this? This results oriented, um, results oriented focus, which, in business, like, I'm going to tell you what you're going to get. Here's the offer. Let's be clear. When it comes to men's coaching, you know, the, in business and marketing, it's like you got to niche down. You got to claim, like, is it relationship offer? Is it a fitness or physical health offer? What age group are you working with? Men undergo a wide array of struggles, and to be able to take someone through a process which will help a person gain their own insight, is something that for me, I've struggled with communicating from a marketing standpoint. Like, here's a coaching offer. Here's what we're doing. Um, how do you translate that to an athlete? Process, like, I'm offering you a process. There's no guarantee of the result. You are the guarantee of the result. You get in what you put out of this, but you better be in. Because if you're in 50, you might get 50 back, probably even less. And then what are you going to do? Blame me as the coach? You didn't show up to the calls. You did not earn the right to achieve a result. And so there's this give and take, right? I pay money to see a coach. There's no guarantee of the outcome. Sometimes, that's up to me. How do you work with players or clients around this and communicating what, you know, this is a process oriented
Mhm.
service. This is not a results oriented service. There will be some type of result, but that result is up to you and your intentions and what you put
Well,
in.
because the goal is the results, right? You want some type of transformation or change or improvement, right? But I
More
think,
money, less fat on my body, stronger body. I want better sex in my relationship. I want to be, or I want a relationship with a good match. Like, those are specific results that a
yeah,
man
I
comes
want a
with.
higher batting average. I want a better fielding percentage. I want to strike more guys out, like in what I do in baseball, right? I actually, it's funny. I just had this talk this week with the guys, and I went to a coaching conference over the weekend. Northwest Baseball Coaches Association, learned a ton of stuff from professional coaches, college coaches, high school coaches, championship level. And one of the things that came up regularly, and I'm a huge Nick Saban fan, and so like on my coaching Instagram, I've got all kinds of Nick Saban stuff that pops up, and he actually just talked about this. I saw a post yesterday about being process oriented over results oriented. So it's
Wow.
really easy in baseball because, for instance, if you're process oriented and you're just working on getting better every single day for whatever that is, your mechanics or, a better chain reaction of movement, you know, cleaner hands, footwork, whatever it is. If we're focusing on just crisping things up and getting better at all of those things, then the results are going to come, right? But if all we're doing is we're focused on results, and everybody who's ever played baseball will understand this, like you can have a day where you go 4 for 4 and you didn't hit a single ball hard. But if you're results oriented, you look at the box score and you're like, that was a good day, right? When it could have been 2 balls that you got jammed on, and a couple infield hits. You never hit a ball hard, right? And then you can have a day where you hit 4 balls hard and they're right at people and you go 0 for 4. And if you're results oriented, you can look at those two things and you can say the 4 for 4 day is a great day and the 0 for 4 day was not a good day. But if you're and that's wrong, right? But if you're process oriented, it's really easy to understand like that's just the way the chips fall sometimes. I hit the ball hard 4 times and that was my goal. I didn't hit the ball hard at all in the other game. And although I can go home and be like, I got lucky and I was on base 4 times and that's awesome. But actually the better day was the one where I was hitting the ball hard. Right. And
Right,
there
because you
is,
did not improve on those easy days. It just kind of happened. There wasn't a
yes,
skill trick involved, right? You
yes.
weren't aware, you weren't growing.
Yeah. And if you're
It's just
results oriented, you look at that 4 for 4 day and you don't learn anything from that because you're like, that was a great day. Whereas really
one
there's a
does
bunch of
imagine.
learning opportunities in those 0 for 4s. Well, what could I have done better to hit the ball hard? Right. And then you could look at the day where you go 0 for 4, where you hit the ball hard every single time and think that you need to change something when really, no, I did what I needed to do. I met my goal there. Right. And so, because if the whole idea is continuing to improve, right, then we need to focus on the processes that help us improve and that we understand are going to carry us to the desired result, right? And so putting in the work day by day, it's like, there's so many coaches sayings, but one of them, let's get 1% better every single day. If we get 1% better every single day, in 100 days, we're 100% better. We're a brand new person, right? But if you're just results oriented and you're always focusing on the results, then you may not even have a process, right? And like there's a reason why athletes are superstitious, it's called. It's not necessarily superstitions. You have routines. And I think that you and I, in trying to perfect, or I don't know if it's perfect, but just in trying to be the best versions of ourselves in our lives, period, we have rituals and routines that we know help us to be the best versions of ourselves. We need daily movement. We need daily breath work. We need daily prayer, right? We know that those things help us to be the most present embodied version of our highest selves. And so as long as I'm focusing on doing those things each day, I know that 100 days from now, I'll be 100% better. Where if I'm just focused on at the end of the day, what are my results of this day? I'm going to kind of be at the will of the circumstances around me of the day, and I'm not going to be doing the things that I need for me to get better. And in baseball, I'm not going to be doing the T work, and I'm not going to be doing the drills. I'm just going to go and I'm just people who hit cage bombs, we call it, like the last thing that you want to do right now, it doesn't matter what you do in the cage, but you're so results oriented that you want to hit every ball in the air here. And what you don't understand is that when you get on the field, it's actually going to have you have less success than if you focus on something in particular in this cage, keeping the ball on the ground or below a certain level in the cage, or keeping our hands inside the ball and hitting it the other way. Like when I step into the cage, I bunt first, see a couple balls, and then I hit everything foul. My first round, every ball I hit foul, 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 foul. Because I know for me, my process, I need to stay behind the baseball. I need to get my hands inside the ball. And that makes me the best hitter. And I'll tell you a story. There's this dude, Franco, who spoke this weekend. He's a mental performance coach. and they wanted him to throw beeps. And so he's at the Dodgers facility, right? He's throwing BP and he's throwing to some guys, and they move the L screen up, and then he's throwing with the velo to the point where he's basically throwing 95 to like 100 miles an hour, right? And then he sees Mookie Betts, which Mookie Betts is a perennial all-star. He's amazing. He's like a little dude who creates tons of pop, dude, like running it for the MVP every year and stuff like that. And Mookie's like, hey, Franco, let me get some, and he's like, yeah, of course. And he hops in there. And so Franco's throwing him and he's heating it up from short, right? So it's 95 to 100 equivalent, the reaction time. And first ball, Mookie Betts laser into the first base dugout. He's a right-handed hitter, right? Another one, first base dugout. Another one, first base dugout. And Franco's like, oh man, like Mookie can't handle my heat today. He's like feeling good about himself. He takes like 10 hacks. Every single ball he hits into the dugout. And then he goes, all right, cool, thanks. And this is a guy who's very process oriented, right? And, he's like, hey, can I ask you a question? When they're done, he's like, yeah, of course. He's like, why'd you hit every ball into the dugout? He's like, well, I know for me, that I want to see the ball as deep in the zone as I possibly could and still catch barrel. Right? Which similar to like what I was doing, but obviously I'm not Mookie Betts, but I understood what my process needed to be. That's his process, right? So if he's results oriented, then he's flying open and hitting bombs. And he knows that doesn't make him the best version of himself as a hitter when it counts in the game, but he's process oriented. So he knows that I hit every single ball this way, and that gives me the best results, right? And so understanding that I have these specific steps, or outside of competitive sports, right? Understanding that, like, for me, I need to wake up at a specific time. I'm going to hydrate before I even get out of bed with some salt water to help my adrenals. I'm going to pray. I'm going to have some molecular hydrogen. I'm going to have a rising beverage. I'm going to take things nice and slow. I'm going to process the food from the day before, do my oral health and stuff like that. Maybe sage myself a little bit, or some Palo Santo or whatever I'm feeling that day, clear the vessel, get nice, and then it's on to like, okay, and then I'm going to get into my movement. I'm going to get to the gym. Right. And that's how I get things going. And I know that if I do all those things, probably a couple hours leading up to the gym there, I know after the gym, man, I've just set the tone for my day. And even on the days when I don't want to get out of bed, when I don't want to pray, when I don't want to go to the gym and I'm there and I don't want to do my workout, like I know that I need these things so that I can show up and be the best version of myself for everybody else the rest of the day. And I think if we're process oriented, that's where it puts us. It enables us to be the best version of ourselves, rather than just being like, I'm going to be the best version of myself, but not knowing or understanding how you get there. Right.
Well, I mean, yeah, you touched on quite a few things. The last bit, there's a spiritual teaching to give the fruits of your actions over to God or Great Spirit or the Creator or Krishna or Buddha, Muhammad. Like I'm not concerned with the results of my action. I'm just going to have great personal hygiene, be responsible for my state, and interact in the world that does the least harm and the most good. And then I'm giving my gifts to the world. Another great time to get a coach or join a program is now, like the time to plant a tree. Look for different perspectives, find out what you like, right? See what fits for you in your life. And you're not going to do that if you're just sitting here playing games, watching porn, or doing your usual fuck all every day. That's also a process, though. And if you like that process, that's fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this, but we're entering a time where this K shape in the economy and culture is happening. And you have people on the World Economic Forum, for example, who are interested in controlling outcomes and creating a worthless class of humans. And so if you're really fixated on results and not getting the results you want, get into a different process, right? By enrolling in a coach or a program or men's group, or join the school for men. There's processes, because what got you here is not necessarily where is going to get you to wherever you're trying to get. And so that's when shadow work comes into play. There's a process of making the unconscious conscious and bringing to light. But there's a process for that. You got to figure out, okay, where are your judgments? How those are alive in you, tracking them in your body, doing some different breathing, actually feeling the stuff and not numbing out through porn, alcohol, sex, food, whatever it is that you're doing that helps you get away from life. You go deeper into life. And there's a process for that.
That triggered a saying that I really like. And it's very simple, but also very profound. If nothing changes, nothing changes. And that starts with your process. If you don't have an idea of what you want that to look like and how you're able to be better in every moment, then nothing is going to change. If you're wanting and seeking change, then something has to change in your routine, in your process, in your day to day.
Yeah. I'm wearing the Seahawks hat, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
get it out.
Sorry.
Work it out.
I
Whoever's
just had a
watching it,
gag
work it out.
reflex. I heard something about the sea turkeys or something. I don't know.
I'm,
I don't know what that
I'm
was.
from Seattle. Well, let's just take a page from Mike McDonald, because I think there's a consciousness shift. There's clearly a consciousness shift in the game of football all over, and I think in sports in general, and that is process oriented rather than results oriented. Mike McDonald came into the program process oriented. He's not all talking about like, let's see how we can work around our problems. I think their slogan is something like through, not around. So if there's a challenge,
Like the
there's
bison?
like a what?
Like the
Like
bison.
Tyson?
No, no, no. The bison. You know what the bison does?
It goes through, not around things.
So when there's a storm, right, you see the cows go and huddle together and they walk away from the storm and the bison goes, oh no. And he turns into the storm and he moves his way through the storm because the bison understands that the fastest way out is through, which is one of in spiritual
That's
circles and
beautiful.
stuff, something
Yeah.
that is used a lot, right? That like the fastest way out is through, or what you want is on the other side of fear. The thing that you're avoiding is the thing that's most beneficial to you getting what you want, right? That those are all kind of in the similar boat of ideals of anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And it's, that mentality, the Buffalo mentality is staying in and going through, like you just said. I love that. And I think Mike McDonald's focus is on Kaizen, like daily improvement, like you were saying earlier. There's probably a process in place of just checking mentally, emotionally, physically, how am I doing today? How did I do today? And just checking it. This stuff can take 2 or 3 minutes if you know the process that works for you. And fundamentals, building the solid foundation, daily improvement, consistency, and building uh, a solid foundation based on fundamentals. And what are the fundamentals of masculinity? I have them tattooed on my hand. They're protection, provision, and presence. And is there a process in your life that you have as a man that allows you to feel like you've got what it takes to protect yourself and protect women and, be a bastion of safety? And are you willing to take critical feedback from other men and women on how you're doing in that area? The same thing extends to presence and provision. As far as provision goes, money, but you can also provide structure. And presence and provision, I think, are tied into one another. But if you have a bunch of beta brainwave activity in your life and you're constantly thinking about achieving a result, then your brain is in beta, and if you don't have Dr. Quiet, as Paul Chek, our friend and mentor,
Mhm.
says, if you don't have Dr. Quiet in your life and you're not actually visiting that doctor, then you're going to get unhealthy in your mind. And so if you don't have a process of watching yourself and lowering the mental activity in your mind, then you're going to keep achieving the same results and be in the same mental frame going on. Like you won't be the cause of your life. You'll be, just as you were saying, at the effect of things and people and the world, and being resentful and be more stressed out, have more adrenaline coursing through your veins. So you won't be digesting fat as much as you would like. You won't be retaining muscle as long as you like, and your health will deteriorate. So that's one example of like, do you have a process? What is your process? And guess what? there's a few different processes for analyzing processes, right? What processes are active in your life? And I think a great coach, whether it's in sports or in life or the area of sex, love, and relationship, or the area of your physical health, right? Or mental health, emotional health, or maybe, I work with a lot of guys on their sexual issues because it's been a deep journey of mine to heal from. There are certain processes that we can do daily, which achieve results way beyond what we actually even imagined or thought that we wanted. And so something really beautiful happens. If you're willing to commit to the process and sort of like trust the process, there is an element of that as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So, I know that you've studied with Paul Chek and you've done the Tony Robbins thing, and you've been with Ed J.C. Smith and his Champion Academy and initiation trainings, and, Taoist and tantric practices, and David Data, and basically hundreds of thousands of dollars into trainings, right? While you've sort of developed your own methods. What's the fundamental difference between coaching and therapy that creates dependency? Like, everyone's kind of common, I go to my therapy once a week loop, but is there actually
Right.
traction? Versus the kind of work in like men's circles that creates sovereignty and individuality and, like true change, where these triggers aren't things that we loop back into over and over again, right? Where we're able to actually have presence, to actually practice that pause and be able to, like I said, create that sovereignty, right? Like the sovereign man. Like what do you think is the difference between those modalities? Like, why do you think that the men's circles is more effective in, I guess, rewiring and helping to repattern,
Mm.
rather than just kind of looping and telling the same story in therapy, as a lot of people seem to do?
I feel there's a quote, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm thinking of the Landmark uh, program,
Mm-hmm.
and there's one of the co-founders is credited with saying that we breed sovereignty while fostering dependency. That's like the long and short of it. And I think the main distinction is within the person themselves, the man, because he wants to be there, not because he thinks he needs something from someone. Oh, I need this teaching. I need this retreat. You know, Sometimes I feel like I just need to be around badass guys, and so I'll go to retreat. But I also want to. I have experience and know what that's like. So I think that the answer is in the person first of all. Um, but there's also like this coaching industrial complex, right? Which I think, for me, I got tired of. Like I left. It just went full stop for 2 out of the last 15 years. Uh, and that was part of my own personal process. But we use a few different pillars here. Um, well, let me just tell you what they are. So, pillar one is the subconscious reprogram. We use methods like Psych K and other modalities. We look at family of origin pattern recognition, child programming, and sort of like the biology of belief integration. Okay. So we look at your beliefs and what you gain by keeping those alive. And pillar two is breath work as an initiation process. We use Taoist and Tantric and Vedic breath patterns, sexual energy transmutation, and completing cycles of stress that we might be ruminating on or that are firing off in our nervous system. So we work at the nervous system versus peak state management, which a lot of people, I mean, you got to manage your state, right? So you can create a strategy that's aligned with where you want to be. Otherwise, that's taking a page from Tony, state, story, strategy. The third pillar is that initiation piece, right? The rites of passage. and teaching a man to initiate himself. And so that you can process yourself, whether it was a tough day at work and you're going to bring that into your home, not knowing how to transition that or initiate a process where you can be free from that. So that's what we do in School for Men. We teach men to be facilitators of men's work with their own life first.
I think you touched on something that, like, to go back to the beginning of our conversation, um, teaching men to initiate themselves through a process, right? Through, which is going to be different for everybody. You and I are both searching for the same result in a sense in our lives, different in right, in unique, right, our own unique but similar result, which is wanting to achieve our best selves in this lifetime, right, wanting to be our best selves in as many moments as we possibly can, right?
And really give
My
back something that matters to the entire world or even
and
just to the
my
community.
process of getting there versus your process of getting there, although there are some similarities and a lot of parallels, are very different, right?
Yeah. And so there's a certain,
Because we're
indigenous
both
culture,
students of this. So I've created my process that works for me. You've created your process that works for you, because we are initiating ourselves every day, right?
and you and I know something and have an embodied experience of what this is that to get to a level where my process really is tapped out. Like I've gotten all I can out of this particular process and the way I'm doing things. So I'm going to get around other men who are at another level than me and learn about their processes and then test them out and see, does this feel good? Is this in alignment? Does this work? That's why I love teachers and friends like Paul Check so much, because, he says what I say, and that is don't take anything I say at face value. Take it and test it and try it out. But don't just test it for a day, you know, take an entire season or year of your life,
Right.
a whole trip around the sun, and really put it to the test.
Right.
And then share with me your results, what worked, what didn't, what was coming up for you, and we can adjust that. And this, whether it's relationship or dating, another pillar, business and mission, and then the meta game. So teaching men how to figure out how can they learn the best? Teaching men how to learn rather than just how to do what they're told. The what, the why, the how, and the what if framework. That's how we run all the programs in our school. And becoming your own authority, just developing your own inner authority. And of course, there's like brotherhood circle agreements on conduct rather than guru worship, or there's a main figurehead. Sure, there's leaders of the group. There has to be in any squad, but we're all agreeing, including me. I agree to interact with you in a very specific way that's conducive to your growth, which has your growth first in mind. Versus, but I need to go to this guy because he's got the answer.
Right. You are your own guru, kind of a thing. I tell the boys that I coach all the time, at some point, if you're going to continue playing this game, you have to be your own best coach. You have to know what it is that you have going on and what you're feeling, and be able to bring it to a coach for feedback, or one of your teammates for feedback. Right? There's one guy on the team who, he's already a D1 commit. Kid works his freaking butt off. He was the defensive player of the year for football. And he's been starting varsity player. This is going to be his fourth year, right? He's going into his senior year. He's in his senior year right now, going into his senior season of baseball. And I use him as an example. And I know that some of these kids are maybe tired of me using him as an example, but he is the example of what and who you guys need to be, right? Does anybody work harder than him? No. And another thing that I say all the time is that your work ethic need to match your desired results. So if you have a desired result, if you want to play college baseball, then you better make sure that your actions are aligning with said goal, right? We
It
can't
means
just
saying no to the party all the time before game night. It means saying no to certain social events. It means not being liked by the majority of others
yep.
for the quality of the people that you will gain from doing this. It means certain sacrifices, right? And that can be very uncomfortable and
Mhm.
extremely rewarding unless you want to just be a herd, a member of a herd who is even in baseball. You want to be at the bottom of the rank and be a triple A player. If that is that really your goal? Probably
Well,
not. It's
and we
part of
all
this. It maybe, right?
we all naturally want to be accepted, right? So it is built in us to be average, right? Because if you're average, you fit in. For the majority of people, if you're average, you fit in. You don't stand out. You're not at risk of being criticized or being martyred or anything like that, right? Which is why there's a process of kind of finding yourself from adolescence to adulthood, right? Where you figure out how it is that I am my own guru, right? And you do need to have teachers, and you do need to have mentors, and you do need to have people that you learn from that, like we said earlier, that help you bring out the best in you. But when you need to get to a point eventually where you are your guru, you are your best coach, you know what you need. And yes, you also have a circle of trusted advisors, or a mentor or a coach that you can bring things to regularly, and not just dumping something that happened, but saying, hey, I had this experience and this is my line of thinking with that, or this is what I'm feeling, and this is the adjustment that I think that I need to make, right? And this could be in your baseball swing, it could be in your life. But at some point, if you want to be the best version of yourself, you need to understand your inner workings to the point where you know what you need, or what triggered you, or what you did wrong, or what you did right, or what you're feeling, and have somebody trusted to take that to for some type of feedback so we can continue building upon that. Like, we need to build a solid foundation, right? And then we need to layer that and go and go and go and go and go.
I love that. I love that because as a men's coach, I work on their intimate issues, or their physical health issues primarily, and it, like I know, I'll just use my own experience with my own coaches, and this happens with a lot of the guys who choose to work with me again, is because I can help you become very aware of the patterns that aren't serving you and help you notice, like, it gets to a point where there's a non-communication, and back to the point where like they know what they need to do at this point, but it can be like just a look, like I'm looking at you, like I'm like, okay, there it is. What I'm There it was. Just point it out, like, hey, there it was. Okay, I know what I need to do. Dust those cleats off and then get back in the box. Reframe, like instant reframe, visual trigger, whatever it is that you had set yourself up for.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I know what to do, and I love getting to a place with clients where it's like, are you gonna adjust? I'm just gonna let you sit in the thing because I see you recognizing what you didn't want to do happen. I'll let you sit in that. I'll sit in here with you. I'll just add my presence. And sometimes that can be super powerful. Like you're in a process, something happens, triggered, fucking fucked up. All right. And then in that, just being with someone in that can be really alchemizing. It can change the behavior. It can actually help change the fucking neural network. Oh, I'm co-regulating with this other being, my coach. I don't even have to do or say anything differently. You're just firing off mirror neurons, right? And then there's this knowing that arrives, and different wirings are engaged
Mm-hmm.
in that. And there's a magic that can happen even in fucking silence. But I love getting to the place where I know the pattern, you know the pattern, and then boom, oh, we're seeing the pattern in real time, but we've worked on it time and time again so much that like you know what you need to do now. I can just look at you. there it is. And sometimes it's like that in my own habits. Like, oh, there it is. I'm an asshole again. Or like, oh, there it is. I was doubting myself. And we just fucking shrug it off. And now I've spent almost no time, spent only a moment in that habit of depression or anxiety or overthinking or ruminating or trying to achieve or trying to perform or wanting to check out. Like, oh, that's what that thing is. I remember that's not aligned with the person I'm becoming, with my future self. Like, let's go the other direction. Let's do the other thing. Let's feel the other thing. Let's process, like, feel the feelings about it, and then move on. Love that.
Well, and then as you're, as we said earlier, initiating yourself, your coach, mentor, guru, whatever, could just be a very good friend of yours, just becomes your accountability partner, right? Because you're understanding what you need and you're understanding your process and what's going on and what has just happened, and you're bringing it to light. And that's why all that it takes is just a look or a tilt of the head or a, right? Because I'm just here to witness you now as you're putting words to the things, and because you know what it is that you need to do, because you are so far along this path now, right? That oftentimes all it takes is just us having a conversation about it, and then you being like, aha. I'm like, I don't need to say anything to you. Like, that's
Yeah, and
right.
if you got questions, that's my type of coaching. Is like I will ask you questions that get your brain thinking in weird ways that they haven't before. There's some
Mm.
like NLP techniques for that, or different coaching
I've
frameworks.
experienced that with you
Counterintuitive,
too.
yeah,
Yeah, I've
counterintuitive
experienced that.
questions.
Like you have this very interesting perspective that I go, oh, it's super beneficial too, right? Like I'm like, I didn't think of it like that, or I've never looked at it in that way or whatever, right? And then when you kind of are able to help me with that reframe, it's like, oh, and then it brings light to the thing, and I'm able to kind of get further along with whatever that is that we may be talking about, right?
Yeah, it could be a relationship issue or a behavioral pattern or a thought pattern or just an emotional thing that's been lingering around. And that's what's great, I think, about any coach is that he might not be the best player of the game, right? I haven't been married to a woman for 30 years, but I can help you see a new thing about your relationship that you may not have noticed and help you behave differently and help you guys connect in new, interesting ways, or even decide that it's not aligned and leave with dignity, respect, and completion and choose differently next time. So I think that's the value of a true coach is to like, I'll be with you when you're fucking up, just as I'll be with you when you're becoming a champion. And I'm going to help you become your own champion and your own leader. And the next time I hear from you, I hope it's like years down the road and you're just like, hey, I'm doing great. If you need more work, I'm available for that. My goal isn't to keep someone as a client for eternity. That's super fun and I love it. And I love the guys that keep calling me back and like, man, I think it's time to do more work. Okay, I'll be there for you. Um, and my hope and desire is that you are the ultimate leader and authority of your own life because you are. And every moment of your history where other messages were being encoded into your brain, I'm going to help you rewire those so that you remember that you are your own sovereign leader of your own life. And you don't need anybody else to tell you differently or help drag you down, in the bucket of your shit. We might need to take a look at that too, by the way. And it's going to be okay. Like, I'll help you bring light to it. So, you don't have the bucket of poop, dirty diapers you're carrying is burned,
Mm-hmm.
metabolized.
Mm-hmm.
Free up that energy.